Well, it's been raining here in Canberra for the last couple of days, and it looks beautiful today, blue sky. Thought I'd talk a little bit about how weather does affect spacecraft communications. Well, to be honest, it depends on the spacecraft and it depends on the margins. The DSN supports a number of frequency bands. The close Earth stuff all the way to the moon is Sierra band, 2.2 gig. We've got X-ray band, which is deep space, which is around about 8 gig. We also have a couple of K-band frequencies as well. The close Earth stuff, we do a 26, 27 gig. And for the deep space K-band, it's 32 gig. Now that frequency determines how much weather impacts us. Sierra band wavelength is 13 centimeters, so it's big and robust and has very little effect. When you start looking at X-ray band, so the wavelength gets to be it's still a lot bigger. The wavelength is bigger than a raindrop, but that raindrop is still stealing energy from the waveform, so we see attenuation. By the time you get to K-band, you're talking about just below a centimeter, so it's fairly heavily impacted. And unless the spacecraft has huge margins, telemetry is lost. Now that's the attenuation, so as it's coming through the rain. Another effect is system noise temperature as well, which also increases. You're looking at a part of the sky which is full of nice warm moisture. So you have two things working against you. You have the attenuation of the signal before it hits the dish, and also the system noise temperature of the dish, which is going up. So what we've got is signal going down, noise floor coming up, and that's where the margin comes into play. So if a spacecraft has lots of margin, they can ride through, but most don't. So most will try and maximize a bit rate and just give themselves a working margin. So it doesn't really take into account rain. You have other spacecraft like the Voyagers that don't have a choice. So they're flying fairly close to the wind anyway. So even with the two antennas arraying, and they're currently supporting Voyager 2, so it wouldn't take much rain to wipe out the signal and provide no telemetry return at all. Now the beam waveguides are different. They don't have a feed horn up here, it's actually in the ground, so you don't have to worry about water settling on the feed horn. With the, just pan around here, with the 70 meter over there we do. We have cones on the antenna. The feed horns are actually at the focal point. We have to be careful that we don't have water settling on the capstan window, which again brings up the noise floor. So yes, weather does have an impact. Snow, not so much, unless it settles on the dish. Wind has two effects. One of them is obviously on the structure itself, and the antennas are designed for a fair amount of wind, but obviously if those limits are reached, the antennas will auto stow. But also on the antenna pointing itself, especially with the K-band, which is a very narrow beam, wind gusts can actually take the antenna off point enough so the servo systems can't handle it, and we can actually go slightly off point, and again that telemetry is impacted. And that's DSM weather.